Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you had a good Easter, and welcome to this new video here on Bitcoin, on the markets. We'll talk about the different possibilities for today. We'll talk about what's going on right now, and just in general, some things I think you need to know. This is the 15-minute time frame. We will obviously not focus on that, but yeah, that's what we're going to do, right? So we'll talk about the fundamentals. We'll talk about the news. We'll talk about Bitcoin. We'll talk about XRP. In general, we'll talk about everything you need to know. So let's get right into it. We got the news that Saylor bought Bitcoin. We already knew that yesterday, so I don't think that matters too much. He acquired, or they acquired for about $550 million. That's pretty significantly bigger than the week before. Do I think that ultimately matters a lot to the price right now? No, right? I honestly don't, but I do think you need to know about that. So that happened. We had very strong momentum, of course, over the course of this morning, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. First, wanted to briefly go over the fundamentals, because the U.S. markets are opening in a little bit less than an hour. So this is I normally make these videos after the U.S. has opened. Now it's opening a little bit more, a little bit later. Be aware of that. Because, well, we'll talk about Bitcoin in a moment. We have some things there technically that you need to know about, but the fundamentals right now are also pretty shaky. Bitcoin has opened stronger here, but if you check out all the fundamentals, you can see that the volatility index opened slightly higher. The dollar strength index, well, dollar strength index doesn't really matter. But the S&P 500 is also trading slightly lower here after some, well, not necessarily escalation between China and the US, but certainly not de-escalation. For example, China said that any deals against China with other Asian countries would not be welcomed. Let's say it like that. So that's why, the fundamentals are still very shaky. And then if you know that the fundamentals are quite shaky, which is the best way to explain it right now. Obviously, we can very easily turn around if we actually do get some good news regarding trade relations between China and the US, or just in general, if we get some sort of a trade deal. The US and the EU would also be pretty good news. Then the markets can bounce back instantly. But as the circumstances are right now, I would be careful, especially taking a look at Bitcoin right here, which obviously, and we talked about it this morning, like it broke out with quite a lot of strength, right? The volume was quite high, but then at the same point of time, the volume was quite high. The leverage, as you can see, was higher. The volume we've had, after getting that initial breakout right here has not been amazing. And then what we have is and you can see that more easily right here, we have a lot of imbalances here to the downside. The Bitcoin dominance is steady. It's not really bullish nor bearish, but obviously it's very high. So that means that Bitcoin can have some pretty severe pullbacks, especially if when the US market opens. So that is something I think you need to be aware of, and I would even go as far as saying that we might liquidate the shorts first, but I'm fairly certain those imbalances will be filled. And then based on the reaction to 86,000, 85,500, we will either be able to hold that breakout and we'll be able to rally into 90,000, or we will just drop back down into the previous balance, drop down to 84,000 with a risk of dropping down much lower. That really depends, talking about Bitcoin specifically here, that really depends on the reaction to that level between 86,000 and 85,600. So just be aware of that. If I would have to give you a short-term analysis of what I would say is most likely, it would be that we do some sort of a short squeeze here, pull back into support, and then some stability. And then from that stability, look, I'll try to make a video as soon as I can, but honestly, it's too hard to predict. I would take into account, and I would assume the worst is going to happen, which would be this, short-term. So those are my thoughts on Bitcoin, kind of linked with the fundamentals right now. Before we talk about altcoins, which I do have some opinions on that, these market circumstances are difficult. Some of you probably already know this, but if you're new to the channel, then you should know that we also have a signal group around Cilinix Crypto, and this is not, well, it's not your normal signal group, I'd say. It's very much focused on education, but it's a good mix of both educating you to become a profitable trader and ultimately a better trader, but ultimately a profitable trader, which would be best. And then outside of that, we also, in the meanwhile, focus on giving you good setups, all right, so that you actually make some money while becoming a better trader. So for example, this is a good example. This is a trade we took on VVV over the course of the weekend. Made some beautiful profit on there. Trade was given to you. We barely had any drawdown. So if you're interested in that, consider joining. Links will be down in the description. You can also see some reviews down in the description, so check that out. But that's it for now. Let's talk about some altcoins. So first of all, XRP. Nothing I can say about this. It's, well, I saw some people talking about XRP, talking like, well, I mean, Bitcoin has been very strong and XRP barely did anything. And that's true. But at the same point of time, when Bitcoin pulled back a little bit yesterday, XRP also did nothing. So yes, the momentum for XRP is quite low, but overall it's very stable. Right, so we can pull back, same as with Bitcoin, into this level right here. But ultimately, I do think this level will hold. I think we will remain stable, and I think the most likely direction to get some momentum into would be up. But those are my thoughts for now. Like when we actually do see that momentum coming in, again, I'll tell you. Excuse me. And that's XRP. And then when we're talking about altcoins, I find that a little bit more difficult because it depends so much on Bitcoin. There's still quite a few kind of manipulated coins, such as XI, such as SKL. The main coins I would focus on at this point of time, just to give you a list, are a BitTensor or Tau and Fetch. Those I think are overextended. So even though we might squeeze some shorts first, I think these ultimately will drop down quite a fair bit. And then a coin that had quite a lot of momentum over the course of this morning was W. So that's this. I think that's quite interesting as well. But that's just because it's uncorrelated to Bitcoin. But that's going to be quite difficult to trade. So if you really want to, focus on some coins like that, where you will have volatility, so there will be opportunities, then that's that. But outside of that, I think it's a better idea to wait for some good direction from Bitcoin. Wait for the US markets to open, and then after that, position yourself accordingly. Those are my thoughts. That's what I think you need to know. So for now, thank you for watching. Take care, and bye.